And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Tom Vasel.
Myth Pantheons is a game in which each player controls one of the mythological gods or deities from different times past. You got Anubis and Zeus, and there's one from pretty much every one of the major civilizations. And it's really interesting to see how that theme works. But when you get through the rule book, and I started reading through it, and it's talking about challenges and the leading deity and the ruling domain, and I suddenly realized that all this terminology was just hiding the fact that this is a trick-taking game. It's a card game, a trick-taking game. But please don't, if you love trick-taking games, before you click buy now on a computer, listen to what I'm saying. This is a complex trick-taking game. There is a lot involved here. There's tokens all over the table. There's tokens, there's different suits, there's special abilities, and I enjoy it quite a bit because it's so involved and so complex and the theme comes through. But there's not a huge crowd of people that I would be able to play this game with, and there are some niggling problems, like a lot of these tokens, they look very similar. They could have made them look different, and you're going to have people looking at their cards for a long time to see exactly how to play the game. But once you do know what's going on, I think there's some really deep, insightful gameplay here, and for me, it really gives a good, fulfilling game experience. There are 5 suits of cards, and each of those suits here is, we have Heavens, Weather, Harvest, Death, and War. And each one of these cards has a number in the top hand corner, and for some reason they used Roman numerals, which I guess is kind of thematic, but it's a real pain for people to quickly glance at a card and tell the difference between a 6, 7, and I just found it kind of annoying in that regard. It was a poor design choice. Some of the cards are blank, like this 12, while other cards like this 9 of Death have special abilities. For example, this one here says, if you do not win this challenge, you may perform 1 additional action during the Divine Acts. So this is a deck of cards, and this will be split between everyone, and you'll have a handful of cards like normal. But depending on what god you choose, you will also have 5 other special cards that you will be able to use over the course of the entire game. So you can see here, for example, that Jupiter, who I mistakenly called Zeus earlier, Jupiter has an 11 of the one suit. He has a 1, he has a 6, he has a 7 there, and a 3 of the different kinds of suits. You can see he has 2 Heavens, 1 Weather, and 2 War cards. And he also has a special ability, and in this game they're called acts, but they're special abilities basically, that he can spend 3 Heavens tokens to put one of his used deity cards back into his hand. So he has the ability to even use these again. Usually most people don't have that. And between the vast number of different deities in this game, there's 12 that you can pick from. They all have a very different feeling. They all have 5 completely different cards with numbers and suits, but also with special abilities that give kind of a feel to that character. Like maybe one is a god of trickery, so their cards are more deceitful cards type style. And then a special ability adds a little bit more to that. So each player picks a deity, and the game is ready to begin. It revolves around different cities, and each turn a city is turned over, and the big number here in the middle is how many tricks you have to win to capture that city. And then up in the top corner is another Roman numeral that tells you how many points that city is worth. So for example, the first person to win 2 tricks gets this one, while most cities, whoever wins a trick simply gets it. Although this city here, if you win, you have to win 3 tricks, so that one will take longer. And so players will be fighting over these cities, trying to win a trick. And trick-taking is very similar to other trick-taking games, where one person who leads off can play any card they want, and everybody else must follow suit if possible. The only exception is with your 5 special deity cards. You can play those when you want to. However, you have to realize that once you play them, they're, for most intents and purposes, out of the game for the remainder of the game. There's always what is called a leading, well, forget it. There's one that's just the trump. One suit is trump, and that suit, if it's played, the highest number of that suit is the winner. Otherwise, the highest number of the color that is led is the winner of each trick. So let's say here this is a 5-player game, and these are the 5 cards that have been played. We have a yellow 1, a yellow 9, a yellow 8, a red 12, and a green 3. Let's say that death is the trump, so there's no trump here. Yellow was led, so yellow would be the highest one, and so the 11 would win the trick. Everybody else, even though they lost, gets 1 token that matches the color of the card that they played. And other people get things based on what they played. For example, this weather 1, that's a very low weather card, but it lets you draw 2 more mortal cards. Mortal cards are the basic cards. This one here says if you win the challenge, you get 3 harvest tokens. Well, that'd be great if they had won. It's very difficult to win with a 3. And then the one over here says, if you don't win this challenge, you may perform 1 additional action using weather tokens during the divine acts. What does that mean? After everyone's played and you won the trick and everything, the winner is allowed to perform 1 divine act. Everyone else is allowed to perform 1 if their cards allow them to, like that one just did. An act might be what's written on your card. For example, here, Jupiter can spend 3 heavens tokens to put one of his used deity cards back in his hand. Or there's also special abilities that you can do by spending different tokens. For example, you might use war tokens to attack someone else's city that they've already captured and take it back from them. Or death, you can basically destroy someone else's city by spending death tokens equal to it. Weather, you can change the ruling domain, another name for the trick, that the trump trick. So if you don't like the fact that war is the trump trick, well, you play a weather token, and now you can say harvest is now trump. Harvest lets you put more people in a city. Basically, if you have harvest tokens, you can take a city that you've won, and you, like here's Tibet, and you can add harvest tokens to it, increasing the point value of that city. Each token also usually has 2 different things. For example, harvest can add to a city, or you can use harvest to get more cards. Death, you can use to discard cards from your hand. War is a pretty nice card, a pretty nice token, because you can use it to attack other people's cities, but you can also play it when you play a card, and it adds 3 to the value of your card. So here, instead of playing a 3 harvest, I played a 6 harvest. And so there's a lot of different things going on. The tokens come in denominations of 1, 3, and 5, and like I said, they're a little bit difficult to tell apart. Not to mention, usually the game will stop and everyone's reading all the text that are on all the cards that are played. But this just continues on until you play through a certain amount of eons. An eon is over when one player has run out of mortal cards in their hand. They can still have their 5 deity cards, or however many they have left at that point. But when that happens, you play through the current round. That's the end of an epoch. Everyone will draw a whole new hand of mortal cards, and you start over again. After a certain amount of epochs, whoever has the most points value in their cities is the winner. What do I like about this game? I love the diversity. I love how you have those 5 cards that are just for you. It's like it's a neat idea, having a trick-taking game, but I have special cards that will give me a bonus that I can play at 5 different points during the game. I like the special abilities. I like being able to use these tokens to the best of your ability. I like being able to, the low cards of a trick, maybe if you win with them, you have some powers that you can use, and knowing when to play the right card. And it's a very interactive game. You won that trick, you won that city, I'm going to attack you. And the theme really comes very strongly through. The disadvantages are, as I said, that the tokens aren't very clearly marked, the cards have Roman numerals. It could have been a much better graphically designed game. I think the artwork is good, but the design could have been done much better. And it is fairly complex. This is not a 30-minute trick-taking game. This is more of an hour and a half involved game, one that you have to sit there, and yes, you'll play much more quickly once you understand the cards. That being said, I like it. I plan to keep it. I enjoy it quite a bit. I'll have to bring it out, I would say, maybe with a bunch of gamers as opposed to a casual trick-taking game like David and Goliath. But it's certainly unique. With a graphics overhaul, it could be one of the best games of the year easily. As it is, I still think it's a very good one, and one worth your time to check out.
Thanks for joining us today. For more written, audio and video reviews, as well as the #1 board game podcast, check out the website at www.thedicetower.com. Until then, this is Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.